Ooh, recording. All right, Kyle, what do we call this thing?
I don't know. Initial thoughts are a podcast, but if we say that, then Wes and Chase and everyone gets all upset because we ain't doing no podcast type thing. They're very against that. I feel like so. Just two dudes talking via webcam, which would be
Two dudes.
classified, I think, as a podcast.
Two dudes across the country.
Two dudes from Vurb walk into a dirt bike track.
Yikes. There were supposed to be three amigos, but the third amigo is missing.
No, third amigo has two first names and he went MIA.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get BK. We'll get BK on the next one.
I always want to tell that to Blake to his face because it makes me think of Ricky Bobby. It's got two first names.
Hey, you know what? If anybody of our crew embodies Ricky Bobby, it's probably Blake.
Yeah, considering he verbally assaulted me all week in Freestone, I think he deserves that.
Oh man! All right, so Freestone week is a wrap. We've got a few list of things. One, our dog, who shall go nameless, came up with a list of things. We're just going to touch on very little to do with the racing. Why? Because we've already chopped it up 100 times. Check out the blog. Check out all the motos we did. The future work Kyle has coming. So. Kyle, let's kick this thing off. Matt LeBlanc, Moto 3, 250 Pro Sport.
I've never seen the kid ride, actually, because he's part of the 482 kids that ride for the Star Racing Yamaha team. And they fled California to Florida. And I think Freestone was his first race back?
He was at Minio's too. So Minio's, I think, would have been his first one back. But between Minio's and Freestone, he did have a major injury. So that, I guess technically was his first race back from that other injury
how he was doing bleeding up to that moto was about, I guess, what I expected result-wise. I don't know. I didn't really expect anything. It was just, honestly, for me, it was cool to see him ride in person because I've never seen him do his thing in person. And then just knowing that he was coming back from injury after injury, and then he comes out and leads that moto, and then Ryder gets past him, and which I expected. And I was like, all right, still second place, that's solid. And then Ryder wasn't shaking him. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, he's making a push, and he got that win. And that was before he even had his little, I don't want to say breakdown, but got emotional on the podium. Even before that happened, I was like, man, that's really damn cool. I was stoked for him. And then to see that. His reaction on the podium, I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was one of the, I've only been around the races a few years, but that was one of the coolest races I've seen. Just the storyline, Ryder D coming in, he's not a slouch. He is wiping everyone in the future. So he had all this momentum coming in to Spring Nationals, and then Matt having the opposite, right? Having very little momentum. And to see them go toe-to-toe in that third moto. Now, Matt did have, a couple of not so favorable first couple of motos, but that third moto, I don't know what it was that clicked, but he looked like the Matt LeBlanc that we've been kind of waiting and knowing is there. It's the LeBlanc we've seen in 2020 at Loretta's that just looked dominant, scrubbing stuff, looking comfortable. It was really cool to see. And then those two, like you said, literally went toe to toe from start to finish. They were on each other. If you look at the lap charts, they were within a second. It was just a mistake or a little slip up that would give Ryder that advantage. And then that gave Matt that advantage again. So yeah, it was cool to get his reaction fresh off the bike too. That was, he had just taken his helmet off, had just been, congratulated by his family, and to see that emotion there it was really something cool to see, and thankfully, able to capture. So I'm excited. Hopefully things keep trending in that direction for him.
I've been covering all these races since my first, I guess, real year was 2007, and covering Supercross and motocross and the amateur scene, and even I've done X Games a couple times. I have never seen someone have that type of reaction on the podium in all these years for a moto win. And at least in person, I think over the last few years we've seen it with Christian when he's finally starting to figure things out. And like I love seeing the genuine emotions versus like so many of these guys, it's so like routine and robotic for them. So like see a guy like Matt show that emotion for a moto win, or a guy like Christian winning the Supercross, or whoever it may be. Like I think sometimes fans will give those individuals shit for crying or whatever, but I think it's cool. I think that's what we need more of, like that authentic, genuine emotion. We were rendered speechless. I think I said it in our Vurb blog, but like I was shooting, like all you guys were up at the podium, and I was like almost by the starting line, and like shooting over the heads of all the media guys, and getting Matt's reaction. And like when he started to get emotional, I literally like peeked my head up from my camera, because I was like, wait, is this really happening? Like, holy shit. Like, oh, all right. And then once I realized, like, yeah, this is happening, I like ducked back down behind my camera and made sure I was in focus to get the shot. So yeah, it was almost as cool as waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go shoot the sunrise.
The sunrise vlog that never made it to fruition, huh?
Yeah, that's.
Oh man. Hey, we'll get to vlog life here in a little bit, but so sticking with the A class, Noah Viney. So Noah, coming off super minis, West Coast kid. I don't know a ton about him other than he's got tons of swag on the bike. His kit's always good. But seeing him come in to expecting him to come into B and then showing up in A, and you knowing all about this, and Rhino and everything, I guess, you tell me what's going on with Noah Viney.
So, of course, I think he's going to be the kid in a few years that's going to surprise a lot of people. I've spent a very small amount of time around Noah, and it's mainly just been through my time with Rhino doing some other work with Rhino, and obviously he trains Noah. So I've always been intrigued by that relationship. Rhino's always said that Noah reminds him of himself when he was younger, and there's just a lot of like anger inside, and you don't really know why. So Rhino's, he's there to try and help Noah, from my understanding, kind of navigate that and use that energy in a positive way and take it all out on the track. But yeah, Noah went from super mini and decided to skip the B class and go straight to the A class. And I saw Rhino at Freestone and asked him about that and his take from how I interpreted it. And I actually am going to see Rhino next week for a sit-down interview to actually talk about this more for the all-in episode. But Rhino's take on it was essentially, Noah could go to the B class and probably win or be one of the guys in the B class. Or you can skip that and go to the A class where you want to be anyways and get your ass kicked, and you're probably going to learn more from your losses than you are dominating the B class. So, and then on top of that, Noah doesn't have he's not a Ram rider. He's not under the Honda tent like Chance. He's not under the Team Green tent like Ryder D or, the Star Kids. So there's no, as Rhino said, there's no pressure on Noah whatsoever to do anything except go out and learn what these guys are doing and just build yourself up over time. And it's a controversial approach, I suppose, unique. I've talked to a few people that I don't think they agree with it, but I think it's interesting. Whether or not it turns out, we'll find out. But I think it's an interesting approach. Rhino's always trying to help change the sport.
Rhino's out here doing Rhino shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether you agree with them or not, at least I look at it as at least there's somebody out there that's trying to do something different. And Rhino's trying to make positive changes.
Yeah.
It's just his approach is unorthodox, and I think what he's doing with Noah is it's unorthodox, but I respect it, and I think there's something there that's like in a few years it's gonna click, and Noah's gonna be like good for these guys.
Well, and that's like I definitely see the logic, especially if you're willing to spend 2 years in A, like, kind of know that, hey, the first few races may not go entirely to plan, but I would say Freestone looked worse than it was because of the bike issues too. Like he just didn't have good momentum really at all between bike issues and, bad starts, whatever the case might be, but he did bounce back at Springading and put in some good results. So that was encouraging to see, hey, Freestone, let's get all the jitters out of the way, and then let's kind of dig in. And yeah, hey, why not? Like you said, you could dance around in the B class, but that B class is stacked. So even if you're off your game, now you're potentially not winning against Daxton, Preston now, Mark, all these kids like Deegan. So if you can just skip all that and hop into the A class, which is still pretty heavy, but the pace is where you want to be, yeah, why not? I would potentially do the same thing too. Now, I'm not in that position, so there's that. But I'm a fan of it. Honestly, I like it. Different. It's Rhino's approach to a very standard process, which is cool.
I don't know. To me, I just feel like you need someone shaking it up, and Rhino. Again, whether you agree with his methods or not, he's the guy that's going to shake it up, and he knows what he's talking about. And as he's told me, and he said it on camera to me, he's like, I can tell the truth because I have no ties to anyone. So you either like it or you don't like it, and it doesn't affect me because my day still goes on, and I don't have to worry about appeasing a manufacturer or a gear company or an energy drink sponsor because I don't have it.
Yeah, because he's his own, which is a nice position to be in. Yeah. So, dope. Well, I'm excited to see what Noah can do here going forward. I know we got regionals coming up, areas and regionals coming up, rolling into Loretta season. So, dark horse, I like it. I like a good dark horse story, and this is one for the make, especially after a top 10 result in Springading, which everybody was there. I mean, it was a very heavy class, both events, both Freestone and Springading. So, yeah, pretty dope to see.
Yeah, and not to say like Rhino or not Rhino, but Noah obviously has support. Like I know he has some level of support from Monster. He's a 7 athlete and whatnot. And I believe he's getting some support from Mark Samuel's team SLR Slam Racing. But he's not under factory Honda. Again, he's not Rider D under Team Green hoping to go to Mitch's squad at PC. He's not Deegan under the Star 10 or Daxton under that KTM 10. Like they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders from these factory level teams, and yes, Noah has support, but not at that level. So the pressure is
there's not a manufacturer, not necessarily a big boss to come down on you. Which
if Noah doesn't perform, he's not replaceable. There's no one that's going to replace Noah because it doesn't matter. Okay, I had bike problems at Freestone, or what if Loretta's goes bad? Okay, I'm not going to get fired because I don't have a job.
Yeah,
which
I like the gamble. I like the gamble because he could have. I don't know. Again, I don't know anything. I'm just a guy in Michigan. I don't even have internet. That's why I'm doing this in a coffee shop. But
I was at Freestone and having to ask you who certain guys were because my amateur knowledge was really just not up to par.
Evan Ferry, Invisible. Now I will say, he just put a social out and he mentioned an elbow injury. And I know he went down early in the week at Freestone. So that may have aided to his invisibility cloak, which is still 5th place. Don't get us wrong. We're not, Evan, you rode great. But yeah, I guess that B class and the schoolboy classes were so stacked that just being off a little bit because of an elbow put you in 5th versus in contention for a win. It's just Yeah, I don't know. What say you on that?
Like we're gonna go back to Noah a little bit. This is where I think the pressures of the sport are a little unjust, because Evan, B class kid, Husqvarna support, dad is Timmy Ferry. So there's already, I feel like, a lot of expectation placed on Evan. Is like, well, hey, he's a Husky amateur kid, rock star. His dad's Tim, past champion. Like, there's an expectation that's automatically set on him versus a kid like Noah, who again doesn't have any of that type of support. And Evan goes out and gets fifth. Any of us are ever going to do like a top 5 in the B class, like that's still solid. But we're like, well, what's wrong with Evan? Why isn't he up there? What's wrong? But I think that's because, he's got that support. He's got that pressure behind him. So it's like, oh, 5th place. Well, that's like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so like an unjust level of expectation put on him, and I don't know. It's
yeah, and he did win in Daytona too, right? So it wasn't like, yeah, I don't know. I guess we never really got the story or anything during the week from Evan. He was pretty low key about it. So I guess it is good to see that there was a reason for it. Hopefully it does heal up and he'll be ready for Loretta's. I mean, the fact that he raced all week on it, he'll be ready for Loretta's. So let's see what he can do there.
In my opinion too, it's just something that I always kind of look at being at these amateur nationals. The reality is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because he's not going to be an amateur his whole career. When he turns pro and he's battling for a 250 West Coast title at some point, does it really matter what he did at Freestone? He got 5th place. Okay. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does, to the extent of like, you want to be able to maintain a ride or earn a ride or whatever. But once you get into you're racing supercross and motocross, like, who cares what you did at Freestone? Who
nobody
cares
really
what you did?
cares.
Like those Loretta's titles and those Freestone titles and mini O's and stuff, like, it does not define your career by any means. So that's something that I like to remind myself of when it's like, oh, well, what's wrong with Evan Ferry? And like, well, who cares? He got 5th. That's still solid. And in 4 years or 5 years or whenever it is going to be for him, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I agree. It that can be said about everyone, right? Anyone who just has an off weekend, like, at the end of the day, all right, next. Like, you can't dwell on it. You can't get all, woe is me about it. Because it's like high school. Everything's the biggest deal in high school until you leave high school. And then you're like, none of that actually mattered. Even half the stuff you learned didn't even matter. So, like, who cares? So who cares about the one girl you hooked up with? Nobody remembers except for her and you, unfortunately. So speaking of randomness, you were off doing some crazy women's soccer stuff for like a month leading into this race. So between Blake being burned out from Daytona and you being burned out from there, and then me coming off the couch and pretty chill, everyone was in a pretty interesting mood all week, huh? Tell us about Florida.
Yeah, literally spent 30 days, February 4th to March, I don't know what it was, but it was 30 days. I was in Florida shooting a project with the professional women's soccer team, the Kansas City Current. They were doing their month-long training camp down in Florida at the IMG Academy. So got hired to help shoot the project alongside a couple other individuals, and learned about soccer. Don't know anything about soccer, never played soccer, don't watch soccer, and I learned a hell of a lot in 30 days. Fun experience to shoot something different, meet a different crew, and see. It's always interesting to see how, like, a real sport, quote unquote, operates compared to how our world of sport operates. to some level there's similarities, but it's also there's a lot of things that stand in the stark contrast. So it was interesting to see how they do things versus how we do things in our sport. It was fun. And then at the end of the trip, I got word that I was going to go to Freestone for 7 more days. So I flew home on a Friday, got home on a Friday night, was home Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then I had the full flat out on Tuesday. I was gone from Tuesday to the following Monday at Freestone. Yeah, so I just wrote a whole article on the website, my latest frame of mind about this whole thing, but like going to Florida 30 days, 3 hours ahead, fly back home, California, time change 3 hours back, then 3 days later, Texas, 2-hour time change plus the daylight savings, spring forward, whatever, clocks go forward an hour.
Man. Yeah.
I was in zombie mode. I don't know, like I felt very useless to anybody, to be honest. I was just like, we're gonna get through this, but it's gonna be painful. And it hurt every single day.
I'm gonna tell you what, that time change was the most ridiculous thing. I don't know. It was only an hour for me, so I can't imagine what you were dealing with. But like going back an hour and then being shot forward 2 hours, and then I'm up at like 10 o'clock. Like I'm never up at 10 o'clock. I'm in bed at 8. Like, what is going on right now? And yeah, it's 2 weeks later, I'm finally like, all right, I think we're back into a routine. Like, geez.
Yeah, I would say yesterday, today's March 24. Yeah, we're a week and a half out, almost 2 weeks out from being back home. Yesterday was the first day where I was like, oh, I feel like normal. Like,
yeah,
getting back on track, like a schedule and a routine, like you said. So it's like, all right, we're good. Please, no one ask me to get on an airplane anytime soon, because I don't know if I can do it right now.
So you are gone for 30 days, 37 days, 40 days, whatever it is, 69 days for all it matters. And we had some world-class dining in Texas, right? So for those who haven't enjoyed Freestone, it's just like every other track in the country. There's nothing around for miles. Thankfully, we have Mejia, hotbed. We had a pasta spot and we had a Mexican spot. And we alternated. It could have been worse. Could have been like you guys last year, but
last year at Freestone was really bad. So last year, apparently it's this time of the year I just like to do really messed up travel schedules. So last year I flew from California to Florida for a Red Bull project. We were shooting jets and stuff for the Jet Series, Wes and I. And that was in February of last year. Go to Florida, shoot that for a day. And then Wes and I hop on an airplane and we fly from Florida to Georgia. And then
yeah, because I raced you guys from Tampa. I literally raced you in the airplane.
Or no, we drove
straight to Alabama.
Yeah, you raced us. Yeah, so this
is a good one.
We drove from Georgia to Alabama, spent 2 days in Alabama at Mill Creek for the shred tour. Yep. And then from Alabama, we drove back to Georgia to stay one night at Wes's house. And then from there to the airport, flew from Georgia to Texas for Freestone, 7 days or whatever at Freestone. And then I flew from Texas back home to California. But with the Freestone shit last year, our hotel, we were not in Corsicana, we were not in Mejia, I don't know where we were. We were in no man's land. And our exit had our hotel and a McDonald's and a gas station. So Wes and I had already been eating a lot of McDonald's because that was just what was convenient and quick. So then we get to Freestone and I was like, oh, McDonald's at our hotel, because anything else to get to was 45 minutes in all of the wrong directions. So we had McDonald's, I think at Freestone, about 7 days we were there, we had McDonald's like 10 times. Not joking. We literally had it every day. So it was breakfast and dinner. And it was not good.
Yikes.
There was one time we went through the drive-thru at night. It was me, Wes, Danny Stew, in Crane. We ordered, I don't know, an ungodly amount of food, and then we realized we all wanted McFlurries, so we turned around and went back to the drive-thru to get McFlurries. Just like, wow, we know what the cause of death was.
Yeah.
But
McRons.
Our food was, we alternated between that Mexican spot in Mejia and then the Bob's Italian or Fred's I don't know what it was, but those were our two spots. So we just went there, those two spots, and then Starbucks in the morning.
Starbucks every morning. The lady knew our order after the first day. That was wild. That was very impressive. It wasn't a complicated order. Don't get me wrong. It's 2 coffees and a hot chocolate. But she knew the details. She knew my ice. She knew your non-fat, whatever you get in it. So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So it was the food situation this year was tremendously better than last year. However, Leslie is not going to like when I sent her all our receipts for the 3 of us.
It's okay.
But it was still pretty cheap.
Dude, we ate very cheap all week. Nobody eats breakfast. We hardly ate lunch, which basically just meant dinner. So
lunch one day at the track, and the pizza guy called me a girl. So that was cool.
Hey, I waited 45 minutes for my barbecue sandwich, so you're okay. But how about, dude, that Sonic the last night? What the hell happened there? All I wanted was like something. I just wanted a decent meal, not even good, not even just okay. And we got the word Mejia Sonic. I'm calling you out. That was not something. I don't know who was working that night. We can run it back, but they should all be fired because that was atrocious.
Oh, we ordered our food and then we sat at the drive-through window for.
It was all at 20 minutes. Yeah.
It was a long time with just nothing happening. And then we finally got our food and we got back to the hotel room and it was, I don't even think I finished mine. It was not good.
No, it was all refired. Like they waited the time to make it look like they cooked it and then just refired everything. We didn't even get what we ordered. Yeah. I only had 1 patty, which is good because I couldn't have eaten 2. Like it was just, no, thank you. No, thank you.
I got a double cheeseburger and I was so disgusted by it. I had to take one of the patties out because it was just like, whoa. So I just made it a single and then I don't even think I even finished that.
No, it was you know what? We should have just stuck to the algorithm and just flipped a coin on Mexican or pizza. We should have just done it.
Because that was the only time I think we had fast food that whole trip. Because otherwise
that was the only time we had fast food. We dodged it. We managed to dodge it all week. Oh no, I have a McDonald's receipt. I think we got McDonald's like one night maybe, or I got a snack. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's what you and Blake did. I forgot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Man, so rolling. Let's do a little roll on the not so bright side of traveling and race weeks. CVS debacle. Let's talk about the CVS debacle. Holy
we ain't
smokes.
got no tape.
I have never witnessed, short of Sonic, because this happened before Sonic. So that whole day was just bad, first of all. But Kyle needs to.
I dropped my.
Yes.
I dropped my red that day. Oh my gosh! You're right. The last day was the worst, dude. We got screwed on the last day. Yeah.
Okay, so before we tell this story, we also had, and I mentioned it in the vlog, and I actually pulled up to that pump again the other day. But pump number 13 is what I started my week out with. An hour down the road, I get a notification my flight is delayed.
Sounds good. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so pull up to pump 13, fill up. It's 2 hours for me to get from where I live down to Detroit Airport. So start the migration down. An hour into the drive, I get the notification that my flight got pushed back 3 hours. So I'm like, great, like pump 13 already got pushed back. The flight ended up getting pushed back, I think 4 hours total, which hung you guys up in Dallas. We then had table 13 at the restaurant. I want to say Thursday night. I can't remember the order in which we ping ponged, but we had table 13, and then everything started getting weird. Lost a GoPro. Your red fell from the sky. That was the scariest thing I've ever witnessed in my life. That's something I hope to never witness again.
My red literally, it was on my tripod and slung over my shoulder, as I've done forever. Never had an issue. And it somehow sheared off my tripod head, and my red with 7200 on it, matte box, the whole deal, just clunk right on, just falls from the sky. Thank God those things are built like a brick shit house, because it was fine. The battery got a little crack in it, but the battery was okay. The camera itself, all good, not a scratch on it, was just a little dusted. So I it turned off because the battery fell, popped off, and then put it back on, turned the camera back on. Everything was perfectly fine. All good. Thank goodness. I've never, in the 14 or 15 years I've been doing this, I've never dropped my camera. So, Texas 12 pack.
In front of the Deegs too. In front of the Deegs.
Right, yeah, in front of Brian and Hayden Deegan.
Oh man, that was a less than stellar moment. So then from there, so the camera fires back up. This is final day. Everyone's gone, cleared out. Now we have to go run around and drop packages off to get rentals and stuff shipped back out. So we pull into CVS for you, and I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I had a little mini battery debacle throughout the week. It all got sorted out. It was nothing major. It was just I ordered a battery. They sent me the battery to the hotel. It was the wrong battery. You had to return it. They had to send me a new one, whatever. So the battery they sent me, it was the wrong one. Had to take it back, ship it back. So Mahia, for people who've never been to Freestone in that area, Mahia doesn't have a lot going on there. So there's no UPS store or no FedEx, but there's a UPS access point at the local CVS in Mahia. So we go there, get the battery in the box, shipping labels on it, but the box isn't taped up. Didn't think anything of it. Walk into the CVS, we're getting something. I'm standing in line, and the lady's like, "You got a shipping label for that?" It's like, "Yeah, it's on here." She's like, "Oh, all right." And then she goes, looking at the box because it's not taped up, it's still open, and she just goes, "We ain't got no tape." And I was like, I'm on like day 36 or 37, so I'm just like,
you're max. I can see it.
I'm a dead man walking, and I was just like, I said, "Okay, I think I have some in the car." And I walk out, and in my head I'm like, what a weird response from her. We ain't got no tape. Like, surely you have tape behind the counter, or like, hey, go to aisle. Hey, go to aisle 4 and you can get some packaging tape. But I was so fried that it didn't even register for me to like go wander an aisle to get some tape. I was like, I have gaff tape in the car. So I walk back to the car, and Blake's trying to get his package all tidied up. And he's like, "What's up?" I'm like, the lady said they ain't got no tape in there. So now I'm out here using my neon orange gaff tape, gaffing this whole thing up. So I do that, come back in, and then all fired up about it.
Oh man. So I was looking for fingernail clippers because it was time to do that, and I forgot mine at home. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like wandering the aisles, but it's CVS, so you can see over top of everything. And I hear that. I hear the shipping label, and I'm like, okay, like, and I had seen you didn't have any tape, and I was like, all right, so they'll direct them to the back. And you could hear her basically yell, "We ain't got no tape," from across the store. And in my head, and I even kind of said it under my breath, I was like, well, then sell them some. Like, again, surely there's some here. Like, coming from a customer service background, regardless of what you're selling, wherever you are, if you possibly have the item that one Kyle Cowling needs, you sell him the item. So I actually bought the tape. I walked over there and bought it. She wouldn't even ring me up for it. She's like, oh, do you know how to use a U-scan? Like, I guess, sure. Like, so that's when I meet you in the parking lot. You've got this neon orange box. This box is highlighter orange now from tape.
Photo of it.
From tape. And we walk back in. And the lady made a smart ass comment the moment you walk back in, like, oh, I guess you found some tape, huh? And I was like, or you could have sold him some. And this other lady, who was the original one who said that, comes out of nowhere. She's like, you're going to speak to an elderly woman like that? I was like, whoa, first of all, like, age has no just on being an asshole, especially in customer service. So, yeah. I gave you that tape. I don't know if you still have that tape, but I threw it on the bed at the hotel. So
left in our hotel room.
Yeah. I asked her to return it too. She wasn't super happy about that. That was
you guys had a little back and forth, and you're like standing behind me, and she's obviously at the register in front of me, and I'm just standing here with my head down, looking at my orange box, just like I just want to keep like. Just go. Yeah, I just want to leave. This is getting real awkward right now. Oh.
And then we go to drop Blake's package off, and the lady didn't know how to do it. So we had to drive another half hour out of town, which was not a good place. That was one of the scariest places I've ever been. Grossbeck. That was, man, you know what? You people seem real nice, but I would steer clear of Grossbeck, Texas, if you can. But yeah, it was just like that last day was just one thing after another. And it was precursored by my GoPro getting flicked off during a moto of the bike it was attached to, which it's no one's fault. If anything, it's my fault for not pulling the vlog footage off. But yeah, we lost the GoPro. Red fell from the sky, all within 24 hours. I think by the end of Sunday, we were all ready to finish our work and go home.
Yeah, it was time to go.
And then we get home, or we get to the airport, and then we shove you on the wrong bus after you were getting yelled at again. Kyle was just a target. Man, Texas, you're right. Most people in Texas are really nice. A lot of people that I know from Texas that are at the races, they're all incredible folks. Everyone else in Texas sucks. That's where I'm at. Like, Texas is a great place, but I'm good.
Yeah, the Southern hospitality did not treat us well in Texas.
They could tell we weren't from Texas.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious, especially when you walk in a room with me. It's like, oh, he ain't from here.
What did Blake? He was verbally assaulting you. Was this while I wasn't around? What happened?
No, this was towards the end of the trip, but it was real low key. Like, I don't remember.
Blake's quick with it too. He's real quiet, and then just like.
Yeah, I don't remember what he was saying, but it was just like very much out of left field, and it was just like, "Whoa, dude! Like, man down, shots fired."
That's the Blake we know and love.
Yeah.
Have you watched the Daytona vlog, the Daytona VMZ from last year?
I did last year when you guys were like put it out. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that if anyone looking for like a true look into what happens after a race, check the VMZ vlog from last year's Daytona. Unfortunately, we couldn't recreate it this year, and by the end of Freestone, we were all too tired. So, yeah, good. Yeah, verbally assaulting you. You said that, and I was like, "What did Blake say?" Like, holy smokes!
Wish I would. Next time we do this, and we need to ask him what he was saying, if he even remembers. But I just remember, like, towards the end of the trip, he was getting a little sassy, which I mean, I enjoy. I took no offense to it. I love that type of banter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so funny because he was so quiet all week, and then all of a sudden it's just like fucking the 1-2 punch. It's like, whoa, All right.
Welcome back, Blake. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Kick a man while he's down.
Man, speaking of kicking people while they're down, can we talk about this FPV drone thing? That was a horrible transition, but I cannot handle. All right, so as many of you guys know, you cannot run a GoPro at any AMA sanctioned event. I get it. I get the logic of it, I guess. But you can allow anyone with or without a drone license to rip an FPV drone around all these kids for a week on end. Like, I'm looking at some of the footage, and I'm not going to call anyone out because this is a system-wide thing. This isn't just a one person doing it. I've seen it for the last year and a half, and all I can think is, have you guys ever like gotten hit with one or like gotten buzzed by a rotor? Because they will cut you, and that thing will do 70, 80 miles an hour, and all it takes is him to hit down instead of up, and he's in the back of somebody like Chantima, somebody like Daxton Bennett, or even Hayden. Like, I just don't, Ryder D, whoever, like, that's just, it seems very hypocritical that we allow these crazy drones to be flying around. And I know it's at the discretion of the track, but the kid can't wear a GoPro at the discretion of the track. Like, I don't know. I seen it this morning, and it honestly got me pretty fired up, because the other thing is those FPV drones run GoPros, and we know how wide those GoPros are as far as the angle goes and how close you have to be for it to look that close. And all I can think was like, dude, if that hits a wheel, that's going to lock the wheel up. Like, if it hits the rider, it will hurt and do some damage. So like, what are we doing? I don't know. Random rants of the day, but that's hypocritical. Maybe it's because I lost my GoPro because of this stupid rule.
Yeah.
That crossed my mind multiple times at Freestone, seeing the drones, whether it was for the live stream or not.
There's a lot of things.
It can go wrong, whether, if you're the pilot and you misjudge the line that the rider is going to take, and he moves over 2 inches to the left or the right, or comes up a little higher than you expected. Like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong that you really need that drone footage for
An amateur.
It's for the gram, bro. Yeah,
topic.
Yeah, that one irked me this morning. I don't know why. I think so. One of my coworkers back in, whatever, I would say back in the day, it was a couple of years ago, had an FPV drone, still has it, is a really, really good pilot. But I got to watch the growing stages of it and can see how wrong it can go very, very quickly. And even somebody controlled, dude, you got YouTubers making millions of dollars off of flying drones. Everyone still crashes. It's just like Malcolm. Malcolm crashes a lot. Maybe not a good example, but you know what I mean. Like, professionals crash. So the fact that kind of anyone can just roll up and do it. Myself, I could roll up and be an FPV drone pilot at a track, knowing nothing, and could potentially really hurt someone. So, but I can't run a GoPro. So I don't know. I stand with GoPro on this one.
That's a good hot
take, and I don't disagree with you. It's another one of those things you can just add into the box of things in moto that don't quite make sense.
Idiocracies. All right, we've come to Outback, which is actually where we started our trip. Tell us about the Outback traditions. I've only been a part of the Outback tradition a couple years now. Give me the history.
I don't know when
It started. It's been going on for quite some time.
when you travel, as you've heard,
You usually don't eat very well. It's
you're going to be
limited to fast food, and maybe one decent meal at the end of the trip or something. So over the years, Wes and I, and anytime if I'm not with our crew, if I'm on another job traveling, first thing we always do after we land is we go to an Outback Steakhouse for dinner, because most likely it's going to be the only time we're going to be anywhere near like decent food. So
always go to Outback
Steakhouse for dinner to start off the trip. I've done this for I don't know how many years now, going to Freestone with Wes and other jobs that him and I are on, and like I said, other things I've done back, whether it's to start the trip or we'll do it at the end of the trip. I don't eat Outback at all when I'm home, like at all. It's only
That's what you said. Yeah.
only when I travel we're going Outback. And yes, there is definitely much better steakhouses if we want a good steak, but it's just
consistent. It's consistent. It's just like any other. When I pull into a Panera Bread, be it quarter mile down the road here or in California, I know exactly what I'm going to get. And goddamn it, Outback Steakhouse crushes. So
it's exactly what you need it to be every time. And it's just at this point in my career too, I've literally just put Outback in this box of I only eat it when I travel. Like, just it would feel weird at this point to have it at home because it's like, no, it's this thing I do when we travel. So
yeah, and it's funny you guys did that tradition, and everyone has some type of tradition, be it travel or whatever. No, I like that. Reserving things for the road is always fun. Just doing stuff you can't do at home, or stuff you can do at home but not. I don't know. I like little stuff like that. That's why we travel.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I like little traditions for whatever the reason. They bring a lot of joy to me. So like that is a tradition that makes me very happy and brings I just think it's a fun, cool thing, and it's a way to like make the experience feel more cohesive, if you will, because traveling is very for me very
stressful. Yeah. Traveling's stressful, regardless of how you want it to be.
Yeah, and even if your experience goes perfect traveling, it's still stressful, it's still chaotic. So the Outback thing for me is a way to bring a sense of balance.
It's a light at the end of the tunnel. Light at the end of the tunnel, and then also, especially if you're able to do it before, I know we went for Cracker Barrel that one morning at Loretta's. It's always cool at the beginning of the trip to have everyone who's possibly gonna be there, whoever you can wrangle up, to just sit down and talk and decompress, because the rest of the week all the pleasantries are gone. It is very obviously we're all homies, but we run back to the hotel, we shower, we drive straight to Starbucks, and we sit in silence for 4 hours. That's what we did that day. And that's what happens most of the time, is you through race weeks or even work weeks, your month, except for your roommates sounded like The Hangover Part 4. But most of the time, you're there to work, and yeah, we all have fun, sure, but you don't get to sit down and really have a nice decompressed chat until you're flying home. And even then, it's 6 a.m. and nobody wants to talk anyway. So no, I agree. Having that meal first thing, if at all possible, is key for success.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, big fan of that Outback tradition. So if Wes watches this and he wants to at all change that, I will punch you in the face, Wes.
Hey, we can only, I don't know, is there a nicer chained steakhouse? Aside from Morton's or Ruth Chris, is there any other? Logan's and Texas Roadhouse are good, but so yeah, no, it has to just stay Outback.
It has to be
Outback. We're looking for a sponsor. I would love to say this podcast is not podcast is presented by Outback Steakhouse. So
what if we put Outback logos on this and then we just send it to whatever their general email is?
Done. Yeah. No, I was gonna say Outback, look in your inbox soon, but there we go. I'll send you a YouTube link.
Vurbmoto lower third on the left, and then an Outback Steakhouse lower third on the right. I think this is a great idea. Fully support it.
Well, we'll be able to have Jetson on as the token Australian, so we'll just have to wrangle he and Hunter up, and there we go. We got our Aussie flavor in it. Life's good. Yeah. Critically acclaimed.
I don't know if I'll go that far, but I don't think it's far. I mean, I'll agree with that when Netflix sees it and says, "Hey, here's a $2 million check. Go do what you need to go do."
So who do we need to email it to? We just talked about that with Outback. Do we just need to put?
Yeah.
So right here is where I'm going to do the Netflix intro. Okay, perfect. All in. Just send it to
So-
them. Like, hey guys, I did this for you. Let me know what you think.
Could I get some feedback?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So All In started at Freestone last year, and then it went to Loretta's last year, which all that will come out in July of this year, and then we're back at Freestone this year for the third installment of All In, and Wes and I were talking about what to do differently storyline wise, and I had a couple ideas, but they weren't like, I don't know, anything groundbreaking by any means. And then
it might have been less.
or I don't know, but we ended up coming up with the idea of doing it'll be 2 episodes, but one episode is about the kids that are a part of a training compound, and the other episode is about kids that are not part of a training compound.
So originally,
It was real big, which was the opposite of what I wanted. There was like 6 different people from the training camp side with all their kids, and I was like, well, this is
I don't know. So we started going
on that path. And then I had the light bulb moment of like,
hey, this is,
too much. We're only going to let's focus on 2 facilities.
and then I think
That's when the light bulb idea came about of like the contrast is then sitting down with Rhino and Jake Weimer for the non-compound kids that Rhino obviously and Jake didn't go to training facilities and they had very successful careers. And Jake works with Chance. So with Noah, same story there. So that's the juxtaposition between
the 2 episodes. So we interviewed
Greg Albertson, Carrie Schur Carrie from Grindstone, and then the next other episode is with Jake and Rhino. So I
kind of what Ryan's
interview next week because Noah had bike issues, so they left early, didn't get it. But Carrie's was really good.
Greg was, yeah, we thought,
He had some very interesting points and some things that I never looked at from that lens, which was interesting. And then Jake is always
a very interview and he's very
very thought out and
articulate,
I suppose to some extent.
Calculated. Yeah.
Calculated. Yeah, very calculated. And then I'll get Rhino next week, and we know how that's going to be. Rhino's going to deliver.
He shed the chickens though. There are no more chickens in the coop. So I think his mind is a little more free and clear. So
yeah. So
It was weirdly stressful shooting this year for me, just because part of it being in Florida for a month and then coming straight into this, I was pretty
worried out.
out.
And then
I just felt like a pressure
to like make it, and it has to be
better than what last year's was, and it has to be better than what the Loretta's one is going to be. And it's like, well, how do I go about doing that with what we have? There's no budget to bring in like lighting and all these crazy things, so like you're very restricted. So for me creatively, I just kind of get into my own head and was like, fuck, this isn't good. I don't know how this is going to be any better than what we already did, especially with Ryan Holiday last year. Like Ryan and Wilbur were just so good. So I was like, fuck, how do you top that? And I think we did it, but I won't know until like I was actually piecing shit together.
yeah, it was definitely cool to hear everyone's take, because everyone had a similar take on it, but with their own flavor. You know, Carrie does things her way, which sounds super, super rad. I know Gavin Towers was working out there. She's working with the Gordons, both Revan and Landon, which 2 studs. Are they twins? I don't know. They look like twins. We still don't know. The Albertson one was one that definitely, yeah, like you said, just the way he went about it, it was different. Weimer was Weimer. That was fun. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Rhino has to say. That'll be fireworks for sure.
Yeah, it always is, and it's cool that I've over time developed what I think is a pretty solid relationship with Rhino. So he has there's a lot of trust there, and like he respects what I do and I respect what he does, and so like I just know that he's gonna, like, I will get what we need and then some out of it. Like he's all about it, so it makes my job a lot easier. But yeah, and I like to there's still if we do all in again at Freestone next year, it's like, all right, here's something we can do better. Like I already know what they are, and I already know what they were from last year that I feel like I improved on this year, just visually. And some of that was like, hey man, we're gonna get up at 4 a.m. or 4:30 or whatever it is, and we're gonna go get all these crazy sunrise shots, and then we're gonna shoot all day at the track, go back to the hotel and edit for a few hours, and then you and I are gonna leave and go 45 minutes in the opposite direction of everything at 10 o'clock at night to go shoot more like establishing B-roll of Texas in general that will tie into the actual episode. And now we've had like almost, I don't know, 18-hour day.
Yeah, I don't think I went to bed until like midnight, 1 o'clock that night. So yeah, that was a burner. That was a burner, and that was that was Saturday too. So that was like end of trip. We're all pretty smoked, and then Sunday happened, and then it was like, all right, let's get on this plane and go home. It didn't happen without a little bit of unrest, but you got on the right bus / Uber to get to your plane.
Yeah, we got through it. I had a little meltdown, but we got through it. Yeah, it was, yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, hey, I had a rental car meltdown at Minneo's. Just ask Blake. So it happens. End of the week's always stressful.
Yeah. Yes. So now, hopefully, I think the plan for this Freestone edition of All In it'll come out after Loretta's, so during kind of the off season. Yeah, so it'll be a little bit, but you're doing other work that I have going on, Vurb stuff, the JS7 series that's about to take off again.
Flight plan, be on the lookout.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, these take a long time to get done because they're 20-minute episodes that I essentially do by myself. But Wes and I had a meeting today, and I think you're going to be fucking helping me with some of that all in shit.
Yeah, I think I am too. So I'm excited.
Get ready to learn, boy.
Hey, yeah, this year is going to be an exciting year for content. Honestly, I'm excited. You've got potentially two all-ins dropping, Jetson, whatever else we come up with in the meantime. We obviously have Loretta's, we got regionals, there's still pro stuff.
Yeah, my Christian Craig project that I've been writing for about a year now. I'm like ready to make a move on that soon.
You have that other project too.
Who is? Yeah, that's I forget. Yeah.
Yeah, literally who is?
That's gonna be really cool. I'm so excited about that. And there's like, I think 2 days of shooting left. Like I have pretty much the whole episode built out. There's the middle portion it's built, but it needs some finessing and like some additional B-roll. And it's just been a matter of scheduling that, because I actually need Wes to come from Idaho out here to help me with those 2 days. So it's just been trying to coordinate that, but forgot about that. Yeah, there is a lot sitting on our hard drives right now that when it comes out, like, not to brag or like say that we're number one, but like it's gonna be cool.
We got a lot of really cool stuff.
There's a lot of like just it's all there. It's just a matter of like just chipping away at it. So there's gonna be some really cool stuff. Yeah,
definitely. And then Imagination 3.0, however that winds up. Hopefully it's back in Kansas. Who knows what the situation is. And anything else in the meantime. I mean, that the Indianapolis shoot just came out. This is something we didn't even have on the thing, but I feel like we should talk about it. The Indianapolis video just came out. Red Bull, Cooper Webb, based with Sipes and Bierman. We were able to go out. I was basically production assistant. You were out there shooting with the whole crew, Danny Stu, Crane, Wes. It was weird not seeing Wes with a camera in his hand. I will say that. That was but you guys and Monroe and everybody, that was a really fun shoot, and something that, yeah, to think that I know, at least I felt that way, like to think that I was going to be walking around Indianapolis Motor Speedway with like free reign, literally go wherever you need to go and do whatever you need to do because of dirt bikes and because of a camera and that whole thing. It was definitely a pinch yourself moment, at least for me. And I don't know if you heard Ryan Sipes' interview on Pulp MX, but he said the same thing. Mathis had brought it up, and Ryan even said, when I rode up into the grandstands, that's when it hit me. He's like, I'm not a car guy. I'm not one for that kind of stuff. But to realize what you're doing in that moment is something that we forever get lost in, but definitely a cool moment.
I think we did it. I think we
did it.
Have our first podcast, not a podcast.
Podcast, not a podcast. So hopefully everyone has listened thus far. If you haven't, I don't blame you. The rest of them will probably be like this, just with more people. So if it's not your thing, that's cool. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. No clue, but we'll figure it out.
The unofficial VurbMoto not podcast.
Oh, there you go.
Should have a really long, drawn out name.
VERB. Put our own watermark on it.
By Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, hey, sponsored by Outback. It's literally right. It's like over my shoulder that way. So all right, I'm gonna hit record. I'm gonna hit stop recording.
All right.